Every week, politicians appear on television and dodge the real issue instead of facing it head-on. This time was different. Matt Goodwin wasn't prepared to play along. What begins as a standard discussion about policy quickly turns into a tense and unfiltered confrontation about who this country is really being governed for and why ordinary British people always seem to end up at the bottom of the list. As the exchange unfolds, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. By the end of this clash, one thing is painfully obvious. Either someone is not telling the truth, or someone is deliberately choosing not to listen.
Else. You prioritise people who are not from our country over our people. I reject that. It's not about public polling. It's not about that. You've asked me, how would I fix it?
So you always stand
you asked me, how would I fix it? You asked me, how would I fix it?
And that wouldn't work.
You asked me, how would I control our borders?
And what you're
you can have the decency to listen to my answer. Leave the European Convention on Human Rights, which would allow us to deport illegal migrants and foreign criminals. Repeal Tony Blair's Human Rights Act, which entrenches the ECHR into domestic law. Detain and deport anybody who arrives at the border illegally. Process them offshore. Do not give £10 billion in welfare benefits to people who are not British. Do not put them in social housing. Keep that social housing for British people. Actually start putting the people of this country first, Bill. A year from now, if we did all of that, a year from now, you would have meaningful progress instead of every week we come on this show and you point at all this stuff that isn't making a difference. And the reason I'm getting more frustrated is another person has lost their life. Another person has lost their life. It's absolutely outrageous. Though, the people out there need to know what's going on. These companies are being bankrolled by the British state, who are using the British people's money, OK? They're using the British people's money to bankroll these companies like Serco, Clear Springs and Mears to offer more favourable contracts to illegal migrants than they're offering to the British people. In other words, the Labour government and the British state are using the people's money out there to outbid them in their own housing market. On what level is that fair? On what level is that right? On what level is that just? It's not, Bill. And the reason this is happening is because everybody in Westminster, except the Reform Party, is completely committed to maintaining not just the use of hotels, because I notice what you're doing, we're going to stop using the hotels. What you're going to do is you're going to expand the use of HMOs, houses for multiple occupancy, and you're going to keep putting these guys in the heart of communities, next to schools, next to families, next to synagogues, and you're going to say to people, well, we shut down the hotels. But no, what you're doing is you're going to increase the amount of money the state is spending by chucking all these people in HMOs and on the Ministry of Defence and State. Outrageous.
I wouldn't be in favour of increasing the use of HMOs because I think, if anything, they bring even bigger problems, as they are in the midst of housing estates, than the use of hotels. The solution, and the government is setting it out clearly this week, is use of military camps, and that will bring some opposition. You know, when it's been tried in the past, there's been local opposition, but this is about practically resolving the problem, ending the use of hotels, but it's got to be accompanied by processing the claims much more quickly, removing people if your claim is not successful, and getting much greater cooperation to deport people.
Why? This clip matters because it captures an argument Britain has been having for years, but almost never this openly or this directly. Matt Goodwin is not debating opinion polls. He is not talking about political messaging or media strategy. He is arguing about priorities. One basic question sits at the centre of everything he says. Who comes first? That is where the conversation becomes deeply uncomfortable for the Labour MP. Because once you remove the slogans, the press statements, and the carefully chosen sympathetic language, the reality looks harsh. Taxpayer money is being spent to house people who entered the country illegally, while British families remain stuck on housing waiting lists for years with no clear end in sight. Private companies like Cyro, Clear Springs, and Maya are being funded by the state, not to support struggling local people, but to outbid them in the very housing market they depend on. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is how the system currently works. It is official policy. So when Goodwin asks, on what level is that fair? He is putting words to what millions of people already feel, but are often told they are not allowed to say out loud. The Labour MP tries to shift the conversation. He talks about hotels, HMOs, military sites, and speeding up the processing of claims. But there is one question that never gets answered directly. Why is the system built to be so generous to people who broke the law while being so dismissive toward the people who pay for it? That is the point Goodwin keeps coming back to. And his frustration grows because this is no longer a theoretical debate. He repeatedly points to deaths, real-world consequences, real people, and real harm. At that moment, the discussion stops being just about policy details and turns into a moral argument. The focus shifts to bigger questions and harder choices, leaving the ECHR, repealing the Human Rights Act, detaining and deporting illegal arrivals, and offshore processing. This is no longer about fine-tuning a system. It is about deciding who the system is actually meant to serve. You can disagree with those solutions, but you cannot deny that they are clear and direct. What people are exhausted by is the endless loop. Another tragedy, another discussion panel, another excuse, and another promise that this time things will finally change. Yet nothing really does. While all of this talk continues, the system keeps growing. Hotels are turned into HMOs. HMOs are placed into established communities. Costs keep rising. Responsibility fades away. And when voters start to express anger or concern, they are brushed off and told they are simply misinformed. That is why this clip connects with so many people. The Labour MP does not come across as cruel or malicious, but as distant, technical, and focused on process rather than people. On the other side, the frustration is emotional, raw, and shaped by real-life experience. Goodwin's message is straightforward. A government that refuses to put its own citizens first will eventually lose the consent of the public. That is the real danger here. Not the raised voices, not the strong language, but the growing sense that democracy no longer listens, only deflects. This is why this clash is more than just something to watch. It is a snapshot of a country slowly drifting towards something far more unstable.